Okay, I think we're recording. Hi,
Hi.
Melissa.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited for you to be here and being part of our community, The Limitless Journey. It's an online course for anyone that has a personal brand or wants to start a personal brand and monetize it, whether that is with their blogs or with network marketing or anything that they want to do, just find a way to make some extra income out of it. So I think our conversation is going to be fantastic because Melissa is a mom of two, and she was a pharmacist. That's her full-time career. That was her career, and then she decided to become a small business owner. So how about we just start by you telling us a little bit about your story, how you got started. I know you were also a volleyball player,
Yeah.
which I also was, which I think that's what connected
Mhm.
us. But yeah, how you got started, how you got the idea of starting a business, and how you took the jump to actually,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. It is such an honor to be asked to do something like this and share your story with others. And so I'm really, really grateful for that. And I love what you're putting together in this community. I think it's so needed. It's so encouraging. And so thank you for doing the work in that as well. So yeah, I'm Melissa. You guys can call me Mel. I'm a 37-year-old mom of two. I live in Indiana. Um, and so my journey kind of began, I would say, in college. I played volleyball in college. I've always been like an achiever. So if any of you are familiar with the Enneagram, I'm a type 3. So always very success and goal driven, which is something I'm working on, still working on. And so played volleyball in Division One, went to medical school for 2 years, and then left medical school. Wasn't filling me up, just didn't feel like the right spot. You'll see that this is a common theme with me. I'm like, this wasn't what I was supposed to be doing, but I was doing it fully for the money, right? And for the security, for a 401k, for a steady job, all the things that society and my parents had kind of taught me were good things in life, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't feel that fire, didn't feel that passion, and just decided like this is not what life for me is supposed to be. And even though I'm fearful of what's next, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna be done. With no real plan. I knew I wanted to do something in terms of my own business. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I was into fashion like when I was 6 years old, probably as far back as I can remember. That has always been what fills me up, like reading Vogue and In Style at like junior high. Okay. And so I had always suppressed that and went into the medical field because it was safe. And it never went away. That passion never went away. That fire never went away. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do something about this, even if it's scary. What's the worst that can happen? Like I lose money. I'm not driven by money. So that for me isn't a huge fear. And so that's where we are today. The past 4 years, I've been running my own business. Arrive Market is my ethically made fair trade online market for women. It's been around about 2 years. And also I do some network marketing as well. So here we are in 2020. I'm still figuring it out, but I'm having a lot much more fun doing it. That's for sure.
So just to go back to when you first graduated college and then you went to medical school for 2 years and then you decided it wasn't, so you did pharmacy school.
Mm-hmm.
The internet went down. I'm sorry. I know we've been having this issue, but what happened while you were pursuing pharmacy
Mm-hmm.
in your life or personally that you felt like the money is great, but it's just not what it doesn't fill me up. Like what was that feeling like? Because I feel like sometimes we go through a certain career because we think this is what's going to be like the ultimate success that we're going to have, and we put in so many hours, and then you make a great salary, but if you really divided it up by the hour, you don't really get paid anything.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And all of the student debt that you still carry today, right? Like I'm still paying those things off. I think the big shift is I saw women finally, and this probably is attributed to social media. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's one of the really positive parts of social media. I saw women living out like what filled them up, and not for money, but because like that was what they felt called to do or created to do. I never felt created or called to do pharmacy or be a
Yeah.
doctor. I just felt like growing up, my options were be a teacher, be a nurse, be a lawyer, be a doctor. Like that
Yeah.
was kind of all I was presented with. And now through social media, I've been sort of introduced to this world of like women fully carrying out like who they were created to be. And like by honoring that, they're able to financially still take care of themselves. It may look different, it may not be as much money, it may not be a 401k, but
Yeah.
whoever said that, like that is the point of life, right?
And it is not, and it might start as not as much money as what you get when you have a full-time job. But I do know a lot of women that network marketing or whatever they do part-time, starts part-time and ends up like quadrupling what they were making before over
100%.
time, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, that's where I'm at. So, like, I'm able to replace what I was making as a part time pharmacist now with what I do. And I have a flexible schedule. I can be with my kiddos. I mean, my kids are virtual schooling right now, so I'm able to do that with them. So, yeah, like 100% that can happen. And I wouldn't have had any debt if I would have done that right away. I don't regret any of those decisions. I met my husband in college and all sorts of things. Like, I think that was purposeful. Um, but I want to instill in my kiddos that like you don't necessarily have to go to college. Like that's not your only route. You don't have to be these four professions. Like what fills you up? What do you feel like designed and created to do? Because you need to tap into that. Like that can be how you do it. Don't follow this prescribed method of like what society tells you is correct, you know?
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So then you made the jump and you started Arrive Market, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What has been the biggest obstacle that you've had to overcome throughout this last 4 years?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing when you go from like a very structured environment of like a salaried position and you have this set schedule is setting boundaries. I think boundaries are something that are very important when you work for yourself. So that's one thing. Just knowing when to like give yourself a day of like nothing. Like for me, that has been huge. Everything will be okay. Like if you give yourself time off, it will all still be there when you come back.
That's true.
And then consistency, like really learning this can be a slow burn. Like this isn't a sprint. And oftentimes when you start your own business, you'll start following other people who have started their own. And so you'll see like what halfway down their journey looks like, or 4 years down their journey looks like maybe for me. And you'll think, well, like that should happen overnight. I mean, no, this is a consistent, slow burn. That is a roller coaster. And the more you just get used to that, the fact that this journey of being on your own and network marketing your own business is going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
Like the better off you're going to be, and just embrace that roller coaster. Embrace the fact that you're going to have to show up every day. And just learn to enjoy it, right? Like learn to enjoy the craziness of it. Like one day I feel like everything is failing and like Arrive Market is never going to exist. And then the next day I'm like, I've got like the dream job, you know, like that's just how it is. And that makes it fun. I don't go into the pharmacy and just clock in and out every day. So yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that happens when you, for example, I know we're referencing a lot network marketing, but I feel like I have always had a deep belief in network marketing because it's an easy way to entry and you can become a business owner. But I think a lot of what happens a lot is you join someone that has some sort of experience already and has had some sort of success. And so we continue to look up to that person, but we forget that they are, I don't know, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 7 years ahead of you. Yeah. Right. So we compare ourselves with not only their results, like business wise, but like their Instagram posts, what they're posting, how many people are commenting, how many people are answering to the things. And we forget that, yes, we can look up to people. Yeah. Because that's how we get inspired. That's how we get motivated and we know where we're going. But at the same time, we have to remember that where she is now is not how she got started, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Like I'm 4 years into that journey. So like I have the same thing, you know, when we have women enroll, like they it's so frustrating to not be in the same spot, you know, a month or 2 months later, but you want, I mean, that is such an important thing to remind yourself. It's like, it takes time. It takes time. And anything that happens overnight normally isn't sustainable, right? Like, so we've got to put in that time and learn to be consistent and learn to grow. If you went back and looked at either of us, our social media, probably like 2 years ago, you're going to crack up at whatever is mine. Like, you don't want to see it. I looked at my YouTube page today from like 2 years ago. It is atrocious, but you know what? I kept going. I kept growing. I kept deciding like, I'm not going to compare. This is just me. And this is part of my journey. So yeah. Do not compare your now to someone else's like 2 years.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what is the one thing or the one mistake that you see people make sometimes when they are first starting, when they first quit their job, or they didn't quit their job and they continued working on the sides? What's the biggest mistake that you see?
So I have a couple. So the biggest one that I see is people not being themselves. So like overselling, right? So people often, like, we'll take network marketing, for example, not Arrive Market, but in this case, like people, I'll present something to them and they'll say, well, I can't do that. I'm not a salesperson.
Right.
Do you see that in any of my social media? I usually respond with that question, like, do I seem salesy to you? Well, no, you're just being you and being crazy and loud and dancing. I'm like, exactly. Like, you don't need to sell. No woman wants to be sold to, right? We just want to connect. Like, we want that organic connection. We want to see other women being vulnerable and being real and being open. Like, that's a woman I want to buy from. That's a woman I will be like, whatever she puts out, I want, because I connect with her, right? Like, I can see myself in her. So I think being salesy is the biggest one. And the one that I'm always like, just do you. Like, you don't even need to mention what you have. Just be you. Be all of you. The joyful, the sad, the hard, all of that. And then the other one would be like trying to reach everyone. So I made this mistake when I started, even with Arrive Market. Like, I was trying to sell to everyone. I didn't know who my woman was. I had not narrowed down who I was talking to. And so by speaking to everyone, I wasn't attracting anyone.
Right.
So yeah, like really getting that niche of who you're talking to.
That's important. And I think it's a lot of times we say, because, right, Arrive Market is clothing, right? Mm-hmm. So you're like, but everyone needs clothes. Yeah. But you have a certain purpose with Arrive Market, right? Like, it's, oh my God, no child trafficking or like ethics made. Yeah. So it's like, there's a purpose and there's a specific woman that will go and buy there just because of what your mission is.
Absolutely. Yes.
It has to be completely, and that's one of the things that we talk in the course. It's understand who really your customer is. Mm-hmm. That way, everything you create is you're talking to that specific person. And I even say you can name your person too. So that way, because a lot of times one of the things that I get is, oh, I'm afraid of doing stories of like talking on the phone. Yeah. And that's like one of the exercises. It's like, just think of your friend, Gabby, whatever. And you're just act as if you're speaking to that person. Then also what you're saying, it doesn't sound salesy because you wouldn't go all salesy to your best friend, right? You would just, this is awesome. If you want it, great. It's going to help you. You're going to look great, whatever. But other than that, you're not going to like kneel down and beg for money to your best friend. So it's just keeping those things in mind, I think, really can help people.
Yeah, I think that's spot on advice to always, especially when you're starting out, just have a conversation. Yeah. And people get scared too that like if they narrow down who they're talking to, that the people outside of that aren't going to pay attention. That's not true at all. Like those people will bring new people in. They're going to find something in there that they might like. So don't think you're going to rule anyone out. That's not going to happen. It's actually just going to grow more and more.
Yeah, that's true. If I have to ask this question just because COVID and what we're going through this year, that's a crazy time. But if you were just starting, or no, let me rephrase that. Let's say that you are in this moment right now, and then because of the pandemic, things were horrible and you lost everything. Okay. And you're like, I don't have a business. I don't have money to invest. I even lost my Instagram handle. I don't have any followers.
Mm-hmm.
How can you restart? What would be the first things that you would do to gain like a little bit of momentum and possibly start a business?
Yeah. So the first thing I would do, number one, I would be patient. I would not freak out. That's the thing that I've learned over the past 4 years is like, you're going to have setbacks, like 100% you're going to have setbacks, and those cannot define you. Those cannot knock you out. Right. So I'm going to have patience through that. The other thing I think is I'm going to be vulnerable in the experience I just experienced. I am going to put that all out there. I'm going to say, y'all, this is insane. Like, let me just take you on this journey of what just happened, because I want, again, there's other people out there, right, going through that same journey, and I want them to connect, not because I want to sell something. I mean, that will come, but because I genuinely want to connect with women, and I want them to feel seen, and I want them to feel heard. So that's what it'd be patience, and it would be authenticity. It would be me telling the story and letting them in on all parts. Yeah. And I think the more that we can get comfortable with that, with being open and real, you don't have to share. I'm not saying share everything if you're not comfortable. But you got to be willing to not be perfect, to be imperfect, and show all the good and the bad. Because that, again, is how people are going to buy in and be loyal to what you're doing.
Yeah. That's a good point. And one comment that I got for this course also is, I don't think my life is that interesting to share. Or like, how can I start a personal brand if my life is like, I have nothing really good to share? And I said, well, you know, we think our life is not that interesting, but that's the main point in starting a personal brand is you get to share your real life, your real story, because there's someone out there that's going through a similar situation. And the beauty of a personal brand is that it's personal, right? Like you don't have to fake anything. It's not like it's like my personal brand is not this cup of coffee, right? Like it's you, it's your life, and you use everything that happens, your experiences, your setbacks, all of that to shape what you want your business to be. So it's not, I think a lot of people wait until they reach some certain level of success, and then they're like, oh, now I have a personal brand. Now I'm going to sell this, 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 and this. But everyone missed the most, I think, the most important part. That is, how hard were you working? Like, did you stay up late? Were you researching this? Were you doing that? Were you whatever it is, that's what connects more people emotionally, right?
Yeah, because who's going to connect? Like, so if I see a blogger with 1 million followers,
right,
I'm have a really hard time connecting, right? But like, if I would have seen her gone on that journey from the very beginning, like imagine that loyalty and that connection that you had with her. And I think too, by like starting here, you're telling other women that they can do it.
Right.
Like women are like, if I see somebody with 1 million followers and she tells me like, I can do this, I'm going to be like, I don't know. Like we are not really in the same space. So yeah, like women have to see this journey. And if you are brave enough to show them along that way, they're going to buy in. They're going to be so loyal to you. And I think too, like just start saying your life is boring. And not starting for that reason, that's like a comparison thing, right? Like that we're ultimately having this, we're comparing our lives to someone else, some other thing that it's supposed to be like. Yeah. There's no definition of what's boring and what's cool. We all have cool lives because we're all going on separate journeys, have different passions. Don't keep that from the world. Like that's not fair. You're doing the world a disservice by saying that's boring. You're telling another woman that her life is boring because it looks like yours, you know? So that gets me really excited because like take people on the journey. They want to see that they can do it too. And you do that by being vulnerable and real.
That's awesome. And then would you start on social media or would you start a website or what would you do?
Yeah. So for me, like, I think social media is just such a wonderful place. 100%. I would be on Instagram. I mean, that's just my jam. I feel like it's a pretty bright spot.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing I would focus on one thing. Like I would not be all over the place. I would focus on Instagram. I would get that going. So like tangibly, and this is what I always tell other gals is like, get really good at one thing. Before, I mean, this is personal opinion, before you try and go and do everything,
Yeah.
because I've made that mistake. I've tried to do Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, blog, and a newsletter at once. Guess what? They all were terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. So when I went back to just Instagram and Facebook, yeah, like things blossom, and then add as you get really good.
Yeah, I agree. And that's another thing is um, choose the platform where that you like, right?
Mhm.
Because you have to do all the content, but
Mhm.
also keep in mind as you start moving forward, what does your audience like?
Yeah. Yeah.
I took a course one and I didn't fully agree because they were saying how you just need to share everything that you feel good about and that you like and that all of that and that everyone will come to you because you're sharing what you want. But
Mhm.
I tend to disagree, in which that's why Paul's works so well on Instagram stories, right? Like, what do you guys need help with? What do you guys want to see more of? Because it starts with us and our personal brands, but we're here to help others, right? It stops being about us completely and how part of our story and part of our experience can help other people.
Yeah, providing value, right? Like ultimately you should be there to provide value. And it's funny you say that. So like I enjoy Instagram the most, right? And if I had to be on one platform, that's where I'd be. But guess where my lady hangs out? My lady hangs out on Facebook. Like
Huh.
this is like my ideal customer. She's 38 years old. She's got some kids. She works from home. She's on Facebook. Like she's probably on Instagram too, but most of the time. So yeah, like 100%, I have been pouring more into Facebook now than I was before because
Mm-hmm.
I was able, like I'm always able to shift and change. And so you are so spot on with that for sure.
What I know that when you stopped pharmacy, you stopped and then you started, which is great. It's so brave. I wish I was as brave as you.
My
but
husband, I don't know. He has a different opinion, I'm sure.
um, but I know you have kids and now they're doing homeschooling, right? So
Mhm.
how do you stay organized? We have so
Yeah.
many things going on. How do you devote like 1 to 2 hours here? I mean, the great thing is everything's digital, right?
Yeah.
So, but you also need to be organized because if not, you can find yourself working endlessly.
Yes. And that's what we're talking about, right? Like when you become an entrepreneur and you do your own thing, you really need to have this down because otherwise, where are you going to find these moments for yourself and for your children and for your family? So
Right?
I've had to shift in like the last month or so now that we've started school. I mean, I get up early. So like I've been having power hours at 5:45. Do I want to be up that early?
No.
No. But you know what? Like that's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make so that I don't have to go back to the pharmacy. I'm willing to get up at 5:45 and then also work till midnight. So usually a block of time, an hour and a half in the morning, and then I'm working after kids go to bed. So maybe like 3 hours at night. And then throughout the day, like I'm just showing real life on Instagram, but I don't need to be tied to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I got a block time in the morning and the evening, and that may not seem ideal, but for me, that's how I keep from going back, and I don't mind doing it at all.
Yeah.
And then I also have a day of the week where I don't work. Like
Good.
I'm not going to be, I might show some stories, but Saturdays, like that's family day. And everything that was on Friday or happens on Saturday will still be there for you on Sunday. Like no one's going to like leave you because you weren't there on Saturday. So I think time blocking, and being able to be consistent with that and remembering why you're doing it in those moments when you don't want to get up at 5:30. Oh yeah. Cause I get to make my own schedule.
Right.
I'm not tied to an employer. I get to make my own rules in this. And so then I'm okay to do that. Yeah.
And do you keep a checklist or anything like that? That I know power hours normally have a checklist, but like at nighttime when you're working also, do you keep some sort of tasks that you need to do or how does your work time look like?
Yeah. So at the nighttime, mine is all like well, in terms of network marketing, is all prospecting. There's no scrolling allowed. So just engaging and prospecting. I batch all my content, or I try to. Some weeks I fail, but I try to batch it all on Saturday mornings.
That's good.
So it's done for the week. Again, that's one less thing I have to work on. And I'm really creative on Saturday mornings. I don't know what it is, but I feel like stuff is flowing.
Yeah.
So I'm not doing that. Nighttime is all about engaging, connecting with women, like just kind of building that network and that circle.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So what does your power hour look like? We have a lot of network marketers on the course.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So
I think that's important.
Yeah. So power hour for me and for the gals that I work with, we use the FAME acronym. I don't know if you know that, but it's 15-minute increments. F is follow up. A is like our ATM. So that's like a prospecting system. Just inviting people, like trying to bless people with opportunity. M is any sort of marketing we want to do. So you've got 15 minutes of that, whether you kind of want to think about your stories for the day and how you're going to lay that out. And then E is expanding networks. So that could be just, for me, that's usually screenshotting women I see as I scroll and being like, oh my gosh, like I want to know her. She's so cool. Yeah. Like women like you, like I want to get to know her. And so that's how we do it. 15, 15, 15, 15.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that. Breakdown like that. I've heard of I do the increments, but I do engage with your feed, engage with your stories, engage with like your followers list, hashtags, location, and things like that. But I've never really broken it down like that. So that's interesting.
Yeah. And what you're doing is perfect. Like that might be what I'm doing at night as well. So that's like, yeah, I mean, that would be just like growing my following and 100%.
Right. So like engagement hour.
Yes. Yes.
Cool. Okay.
That's
so I think we're on our last question.
Okay.
What would you say is your favorite piece of content? Can be a book, can be a movie, can be a podcast, whatever, that has helped you to grow either personally or professionally?
Ooh, okay. Personally is the Bible.
Okay.
that's my book that I go to for everything. And then in terms of like content, this might not be exactly what you're asking, but I feel like it's important. The biggest thing in my business has been video, like just using video.
Yeah.
I think it is a huge business builder, and I cannot encourage women enough, whether it's live or video.
Yeah.
And then podcast is I don't know if I say his name right. Virtual Upline, Bob Heilig.
I've never heard.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic if you're in network marketing. And then in terms, I want to throw this one in there too. If trafficking is something that I'm really passionate about, and I know a lot of people are hearing about, IJM, so International Justice Mission. If that's something that's on your heart and you want to learn about it, that is the place I would start. They have a podcast. They're on Instagram. And so in terms of my business, that's how I kind of stay in the know.
Awesome.
There, I gave you four.
That's great. That's important. Awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share that you think it's important? Where can people find you?
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram, Melissa Lynn Smith, Arrive Markets on Facebook and Instagram. And I think the biggest thing is just like step into your fear. Jessica Honegger from Noonday says imperfect courage. Like that's all that's needed here is imperfect courage, not being afraid to fail. You will fail. Just know that going in, like you'll make mistakes. You'll look like an idiot sometimes, but that's what makes you endearing. And just by stepping into fear, you're going to show other women that they can do the same. And there is nothing more beautiful than that, right? Like to encourage women to have courage. So, and thank you for having me. This is so fun to get to talk.
Yeah. This is awesome. I will, I'll put your links on the comment section. I'm going to put this on YouTube and then also going to go on the Facebook group. So
love it.
You can just link through and follow you.
Okay. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I hope you have a great day.
You're a gem. Thanks, girl.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.